Yo, what's going on, yo? So it's my day off, so I'm not really interested in doing much of anything. So I want to talk about this debate. I just seen the Amanda Seals debate with 20 black conservatives, and boy, was that kind of crazy. Oh boy, I had to pause that thing several times. If I could record myself and just chop it up, or just get like an editor, I would be really like pleased with like how I'd be really pleased. But like, boy, oh boy, was that just a wild video. This thing was hour and a half. So I'm like, my gosh, this is so. Yeah, man. Some of them folks in there would have given me an aneurysm. Not a real one, just a figurative one to show how much I was so frustrated by some of their responses. I'm like, yo, but this is why I posted this video. Not this video, but a video before that, because it's like some people with views who are not, they don't know the full story. They don't know the context of what happens with black Americans. They don't know the history. So they make these baseless assumptions and have these goofy beliefs, and they don't really know. They hear what people tell them about other people whom they have never met, likely, and just say, "Oh yeah, yeah, true enough, yeah, for sure," and don't have no zero, you know, zero like response, man, or just no understanding, no means to understand. And I think it's sad to me. It's really, really saddening is a word, but I'm sure there's a German word to describe like my level of disappointment, um, and maybe sadness. Is it Schadenfreude? Schadenfreude? Something like that. I don't know, but it's probably just disappointment. Yeah, those folks disappoint the heck out of me, and I would never have thought I'd be agreeing with Amanda Seals out of all people. No, don't get me wrong. I don't think she's necessarily a bad person. I just think sometimes, um, she I'm afraid to be a person who is constantly on the internet debating people and is a little some like too ready. Let's just say that. And I feel like Amanda Seals is very good at these scenarios because she's too ready. And by that, I just mean like, man, sometimes you get too used to fighting, and that's not a good sign. But in this was a great sign. She actually, in my opinion, she really dogged him out. I was like, this, I dogged him out is not a good term to describe it as, but she really was given to him, and I'm glad because folks, man, some of these folks was just trying to, they was just making me mad with some of these views. Some of these views was just bothersome, and I'm like, this, that, what? Like, I don't know, man. I say this because I used to have views like them. I used to. And I actively tried to just figure out what the heck. I had to balance myself out. So I kept challenging my views. And yeah, it really is a sad thing, man. And that old dude in the beginning, in fact, there was a blind dude. He had like jeans and he looked like he was in basically American Gear, if that was a term for it. And he was blind. I was like, yo, I hope that guy get in there. But you know, he just never got a chance, and I guess he left. But yeah, he just never got a chance to join. But boy, oh boy, man, it is some of these people's views. It's so surprising. I just never thought I'd agree with Amanda Seals. Seeing a bunch of her clips and stuff, it's like, dang, why? You know, she just seemed to do quite a few things, and I'm just like, dude, what? What? Why are you doing this? And seeing her on this, it really was like, oh, oh, she's not that bad, you know. Not so much of a person because I don't know her as a person, but like in terms of like what she believes and stuff like that, she man, she does. She here did her thing. In fact, I think that was kind of a thing that I had in my mind is like if we thought about like her professional career, she says she has a degree in like African studies, a master's degree. If we're talking about that, and I remember she talked about on the Shannon Sharp show, Shannon late Club Shay Shay, the Club Shay Shay podcast. When he was talking to her, she brought up the b boy, like the breaking history, I'm like, okay, I could agree with that. But in terms of everything else, I was like, I don't know about all that. But since this had to be in her professional experience, is that right to say that? I guess you can. I thought professionals were doctors, and I thought you need to have like accreditation to be considered a professional. I thought you need a PhD to be considered a professional. I don't know. I think I don't know, but I do think, man, she did her thing. She had some good arguments. Uh, it wasn't like she was perfect, right? But some of these dudes really irritated me because they weren't as like if there's some complaints about her, there's complaints just as much for those conservatives because they were so irritating. Some of them, and it's like you see various aspects of where they came from, about their potential views. There was this lady, blonde lady, and she seemed almost like she was had. I'm not gonna say it. That's a guess, but she had this. I'm not gonna say animosity. She had these views that was particularly aimed at black men, and I was like, yeah. And then there was this young dude. I guess his name is Nuclear something Nuclear. He was irritated. But I think one thing that we could say if there's a family favorite, I'm not really sure, is a I'm sorry, I was being quirky. His name is something Samuel, John Samuel, and he seemed to be the most, maybe not, I'm not sure, maybe, but like the most charitable about the conversation. I think he was the most charitable. But in turn, yeah, that Nuclear dude was so he was not. His youth was showing badly. In fact, whenever I've seen a lot of these debates, it be the youth that be like they don't know how to really act. With that Jordan Peterson one versus 20 atheists, that young dude was such a, yeah. They must have been like cousins. This guy here, this Nuclear guy, and that other dude. Just let's just say they have a punchable face. Politically speaking, a punchable face. So, I, but yeah. So, if I can give any lasting thoughts to this, my impressions, um, I don't know. This is one of the few times I'd be like, yeah, I agree with Amanda Seals. Sure, was she a little rude? Sure, sometimes. Were they rude? Sure, sometimes. Yeah. So that's why I'm not like, oh man, here we go. Amanda Seals out here going crazy again. I'm pleasantly surprised. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. So that's why I'm like, compared to the Club Shay Shay interview before and then now to this, uh, I just would find her much more suitable to stuff she actually knows versus like, you know, talking about personal matters. Yeah, talking about personal matters. I think I would have, I appreciate more conversations that's rooted in her professional knowledge about African history, African American history, versus stuff that's not talking about that because she doesn't have much arguments to substantiate essentially. Because when they had that Club Shay Shay, she was just like, she was doing so much, like her arguments was just not. It was hard to really follow her. It was hard to really just like root for her because she was just like skirting the issue so much, and she was like trying to fight for this equal voice, and it just wasn't. Yeah, I think she does thrives. I personally believe she thrives in debates that's about actual information and not a personal, not about stardom or famous things or anything like that. I think she does really well in like professional settings that's in her field of knowledge. Like with that, she could just rifle off information. Most of these folks in that scenario just gave opinions that they likely heard from news channels and political pundits, maybe some Steven Crowder, maybe some Fox News. Like they were saying that stuff verbatim, and they were saying it back to back to back to back, even not even answering statements she's made about specific things or even her replies about specific topics, and relation in response to their questions. They just kept rifling this stuff off like 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 robots, like they were supposed to know certain things, and they expected those answers to be enough. And I just thought they weren't. They were very lacking. And I'm like, yeah, there's some people you just shouldn't debate because they're not gonna really debate you with honesty is not the right word to describe it as, but some intellectual integrity or intellectual honesty. It just, in my opinion, won't. Especially if they're so indoctrinated of a certain belief, they just won't. And so that's kind of maybe a PSA if you want to listen to that video. If you are, I don't consider myself any really political wing, maybe like a centrist almost, but definitely not listening. Like, definitely check it out. But if you're like a right wing person, you might not even pay attention to half the stuff she's saying because you might disagree. Maybe 3/4. But if you are a person who just doesn't have a political emphasis that you go to, or if you're in the middle, then you can see the arguments for what they are. And I get it. We all have somewhat of a bias somewhere, but with this, it's just very, at least in my opinion, frustrated.